town wasn't on any map.
He laughed at stories about ghosts until he disappeared for 3 days.
Ethan, open the door.
That's not her.
Daddy, why'd you leave me here?
It was supposed to be a 3-hour drive. 3 hours from Charleston, West Virginia, to a small town near the Kentucky border. But when Ethan Miller finally came home, 3 days had passed. His truck was still running. His phone was still in his pocket. His wallet, keys, and money were untouched. And yet Ethan couldn't remember where he'd been. At first, his family thought he had been kidnapped. Then Ethan remembered something. A town that wasn't on any map. And the strangest part? He wasn't the only person who had seen it. October 2019. Ethan Miller was 34 years old and worked as an electrician in Charleston, West Virginia. He wasn't religious. He didn't believe in ghosts. He didn't believe in demons, haunted houses, or stories about people disappearing in the mountains. His father used to tell him that the Appalachian Mountains were full of places where people could get lost. Ethan always laughed at him. People don't disappear, he'd say. They get lost. That belief lasted until one Thursday night. Ethan had finished a job outside Beckley and decided to drive home late instead of staying at a motel. It was around 11:40 p.m. when he called his girlfriend, Sarah. "I'm leaving now," he told her. "You'll be home around 2? Probably. Don't take the mountain roads." Ethan laughed. Why? You know why. She was talking about the stories, old Appalachian stories about roads that supposedly changed direction, places where people heard voices calling their names, and roads where headlights would suddenly appear behind you even though there was nobody there. Ethan promised her he'd stay on the main highway. He didn't. Around 1:30 a.m., traffic became almost non-existent. Rain began falling. Not heavy rain, just a thin, cold drizzle. Ethan turned onto an old mountain road he had used several times before. He knew the road. That was important. Because what happened next couldn't be blamed on getting lost. At least, that's what Ethan always insisted. At approximately 2:05 a.m., Ethan noticed fog ahead. It wasn't unusual in the mountains, but this fog was different. It appeared almost like a wall. 1 second he could see the road clearly. The next, he couldn't see more than 20 feet ahead. Ethan slowed his truck. 10 miles per hour. Then 5. He turned the radio off. He wanted to hear everything around him. That's when he noticed something strange. There were no insects, no frogs, no wind, nothing. The entire forest had gone silent. Ethan looked at the clock. 2:17 a.m. He drove another few minutes. Then the fog suddenly disappeared. Ethan relaxed and immediately realized something was wrong. The paved road was gone. His truck was driving over dirt. He stopped, looked behind him. There was no road, only darkness. That's impossible. He got out of the truck. The air smelled like wet soil. He turned on his flashlight. Nothing, no road, no power lines, no signs, just trees. Ethan got back inside and decided to keep driving. Eventually, he'd find a house, someone, a gas station, anything. 5 minutes later, he saw lights, dozens of them. Ethan felt relieved. There was a town ahead. The road became wider. Then buildings appeared. Old wooden houses, small stores, barns, porches. Everything looked like it belonged to another century. Ethan slowed down. Where the hell am I? There were no streetlights. Instead, every house had an old lantern hanging beside the door. Then he noticed something even stranger. Every house had the same design. Dark wooden walls, small windows, low doors. and every door was open. Ethan drove slowly through the center of the town. Not a single car, not one modern vehicle, no power lines, no street signs, no road markings, nothing. He checked his phone. No signal. The battery was at 72%. He had charged it before leaving. He tried calling Sarah. Nothing. Then he looked at the time. 6:43 p.m. Ethan froze. That can't be right. He checked his phone again. 6:43 p.m. But he knew it was the middle of the night. His truck clock said 2:31 a.m. His phone said 6:43 p.m. Neither clock was moving. Then Ethan heard music. A fiddle. Slow. Old-fashioned. Coming from somewhere deeper inside the town. He should have left. Instead, he followed it. The music stopped. Ethan parked beside a wooden house. He got out. Hello? No answer. Then someone touched his shoulder. Ethan nearly jumped out of his skin. An old man stood behind him. He looked around 70 years old. Gray beard, black coat, old-fashioned hat, and eyes that were almost completely black in the darkness. The old man looked at Ethan for several seconds, then said, "You're not supposed to be here." Ethan swallowed. "I got lost." The old man smiled. "No." He pointed toward the road. "You were brought here." Ethan didn't understand. Brought here by who? The old man didn't answer. Instead, he opened the door behind him. Ethan hesitated. Then the old man said something that made his blood run cold. "Your girlfriend is waiting for you." Ethan stared at him. "How do you know about Sarah?" The old man smiled again. "I know everyone who comes here." Inside the house, everything looked ancient. A wooden table, a fireplace, a rocking chair. Old photographs covered the walls. The old man poured Ethan a glass of water, then placed a small piece of bread beside it. "Eat." Ethan didn't touch it. "Where am I?" The old man looked toward the window. "Somewhere between here." He paused. "And where you came from?" Ethan laughed nervously. "Okay, that's not funny." The old man didn't smile. "Listen carefully." He leaned toward Ethan. "When you leave this house, don't answer anyone. Don't stop. Don't look into any windows. And whatever you hear, do not follow the music." Ethan stared at him. "Why?" The old man whispered. "Because the people in this town aren't people." Ethan felt his stomach tighten. Then came a knock at the door. 3. Slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. The old man's face changed. All the color disappeared from it. He whispered, "Don't move." Another knock. Then a woman's voice came from outside. "Ethan?" His heart stopped. It was Sarah's voice. Perfectly. Ethan opened the door. He looked at the old man. The old man shook his head. Sarah's voice came again. "Please, I'm scared." Ethan stood up. The old man grabbed his arm. "That's not her." The voice outside suddenly changed. It became deeper, older. Then several voices spoke together. "Ethan." The old man blew out the lamp. The house became completely dark, and something outside began scratching the wooden door. The scratching continued for nearly a minute. Then silence. The old man relit the lamp. He reached into his coat and pulled out something wrapped in black cloth. A small metal object. It looked like an old iron key. He placed it in Ethan's hand. "Take this." "What is it?" "A way home." Ethan stared at the key. The old man pointed toward the door. "Drive straight. Don't turn around. Don't stop for anyone. And if you see the church, close your eyes." Ethan frowned. "What church?" The old man looked at him. "The one that shouldn't be there." Ethan ran outside. He got into his truck, started the engine, and drove. The town was completely silent. But as he passed the houses, doors began opening. One, then another, then another. People appeared on the porches, men, women, children, all staring at Ethan. None of them moved, none of them blinked. Ethan remembered the old man's warning, "Don't look." So he stared straight ahead. Then he heard a little girl's voice. "Daddy," Ethan's foot almost hit the brake. "Daddy, please." He recognized the voice. It was his daughter, but Ethan didn't have a daughter. The voice continued, "Daddy, why did you leave me here?" Ethan began crying, but he kept driving. Then he saw the church. It appeared suddenly on the left side of the road. A huge white church. Every window was glowing. Hundreds of people stood outside, all facing him. Ethan remembered the old man's warning, "Close your eyes." So he did. He drove with his eyes closed. And that's when something slammed against the side of his truck. Once, twice, 3 times. Then dozens of hands began hitting the windows. Ethan screamed, but he never opened his eyes. Suddenly, everything stopped. Ethan opened his eyes. The town was gone. The dirt road was gone. The church was gone. He was back on the highway. His truck was parked beside a gas station. It was morning. Sunlight was coming through the windshield. A police officer was standing beside the driver's door. "Ethan?" Ethan looked at him. "Where am I?" The officer looked confused. "You're in Kentucky." Ethan stared at him. "No. Where have you been?" "I was driving home." The officer looked at his watch. Then at Ethan. "What's the last thing you remember?" Ethan told him about the fog, the road, the town, the old man, the church. The officer didn't laugh. Instead, he asked, "Did anyone give you anything?" Ethan remembered the key. He reached into his pocket. It was still there. The officer's face went pale. "Where did you get that?" "I told you. You don't understand." The officer pointed toward the mountains. There hasn't been a town there for almost 70 years. Ethan was taken to the hospital. That's when Sarah arrived. The moment she saw him, she started crying. Ethan hugged her, then asked, "Why are you acting like this?" She stared at him. "Ethan, what? You disappeared Thursday night." He laughed. "No, I left Thursday night." Sarah shook her head. "Today is Sunday." Ethan stopped breathing. 3 days. He had been gone for 3 days. His truck had been found Friday morning, nearly 80 miles away from where he remembered driving. The strange part? There was no damage, no evidence of an accident, no sign that anyone had entered the truck. And Ethan's phone showed something impossible. At 2:31 a.m. Thursday, the phone stopped recording any activity. It started again at 6:42 a.m. Sunday. 3 days missing. No explanation. For several weeks, Ethan refused to talk about the town. Then, strange things started happening at his house. Every night, at exactly 2:31 a.m., someone knocked on his front door. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Nobody was ever there. Then Ethan started hearing fiddle music outside his bedroom window. Sarah never heard it. Only Ethan. One night, Ethan woke up and found the old iron key sitting on his nightstand. He had thrown it into a river weeks earlier. He picked it up, and for the first time, he noticed words carved into the metal. 4 words. "You left something behind." That same night, Ethan dreamed about the old man. The old man stood beside the church. He looked terrified. He pointed behind Ethan, then whispered, "Next time. They won't let you leave." Ethan woke up, screaming. The key was gone. But something else was sitting on his nightstand, a photograph. It showed the old town, and standing in front of one of the houses was Ethan, but the photograph looked old, very old. On the back was a handwritten date, the 17th of October 1952, and underneath the date was Ethan's name. Ethan never drove through that part of Kentucky again. He eventually moved away. He stopped talking about the town. He stopped talking about the old man. and he never told Sarah everything he remembered. But there is one thing he still refuses to explain. Every October, on the same night he disappeared, Ethan receives a phone call. No number appears on the screen. There is never anyone speaking, only music, an old fiddle, slow, distorted. And underneath the music, sometimes he can hear knocking. 3 times. Knock, knock, knock. Ethan says he knows what it means. The town is still there, somewhere in the Appalachian Mountains, waiting for the next person to take the wrong road. And according to Ethan, the old man wasn't trying to keep him out. He was trying to warn him. Because the first time Ethan entered that town, they let him leave, but the second time, they may not. So if you're ever driving through the Appalachian Mountains late at night, and you see a road that isn't on your GPS, don't take it. And if you see an old town with lanterns glowing in every window, keep driving. Because sometimes getting lost isn't an accident. Sometimes something wants you to find it.